Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence. Minister, if your government is serious about addressing domestic, family and sexual violence in the Northern Territory, why do you keep ignoring the recommendations of the NT Coroner's recent report into the deaths of 4 Territory women? Why won't your CLP government commit to implementing those 35 recommendations that will actually make a difference across the Territory when it comes to the horrific rates of domestic violence in our community? And Minister, can you please update the House on the recommendations that you have implemented as outlined by the Acting Minister yesterday in question time?
Minister for Prevention of Domestic Violence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I must confess I am continually bemused at the lack of understanding of how these processes are meant to work. We have such a focus on why aren't you consulting from those on the other side, when in actual fact what we are doing is making sure we consult with all of those people who are impacted in this space to make sure that we get it right, because we know that over the last 8 years, with an increase in domestic violence assaults of 82% across the Northern Territory, we have not seen a system that was getting it right. So we have, and I have repeatedly said, Madam Speaker, we have rolled out immediately the recommendations around intervening early with our youth and making sure that we create pathways where we change behaviour, and expanding the co-responder model and embedding it into our system, which were 2 of the recommendations from the Coroner. The rest of the recommendations have taken careful consideration, extensive consultation with our service providers, extensive consultation with our departmental people, really looking at what are we doing that works, what are we doing that doesn't work, and making sure that as we respond to those recommendations, which those on the other side should be ashamed, because the fact that those recommendations had to be made at all when they were recommendations that almost mirrored the recommendations of the previous Coroner, Cavanagh, back in 2017, for which they took 0 action. They should be ashamed, Madam Speaker. We take this matter very, very seriously. And it is for that reason that we have started working with our young people, and in doing so through the Circuit Breaker program are working with their families. We have had referrals already through that program to family support, to education, to housing, to prevention of domestic violence services, to emergency and crisis accommodation, all through the interventions that we have taken by working with those young people who are so severely impacted by the horrendous impact of domestic violence.
What's your point of order, Leader of the Opposition?
Order 110, asking about what recommendations have been implemented as outlined in question time yesterday.
Opposition Leader, the Minister is directly answering your question from what I'm hearing. Please, you've got the call, Minister, and please, Opposition Leader, be quiet and listen.
For the benefit of those on the other side, Madam Speaker, because clearly they haven't read through the recommendations, otherwise they would already know which ones that I'm referring to, and which I have repeatedly stated in Parliament, they would be Recommendation 7 and Recommendation 15. The balance of those recommendations have received serious consultation. There has been extensive consultation across all the departments, and I personally have gone out and spoken to a range of services across the Northern Territory, talked to service providers, talked to legal service support workers, talked to those who are providing crisis accommodation, so that we know that when we put these programs in place going forward, we will get it right.
Time has expired, Minister.